So this girl saw charms in her boyfriend's house while she was trying to do his laundry. And later in the night, she confronted him about it, but it did not end well. There are just certain things you see and you just have to run far from it, because most times confronting the devil is not usually the best approach. A 21-year-old woman named Promise Boa was said to be living with her boyfriend, 25 years old Malison Gepa. They've been dating for about 11 months and she was 5 months to 6 months pregnant as at the time for him. However, Promise already had a child from another relationship when she was younger, and the little child also lived with her and her boyfriend Malison. They both lived in a 3-bedroom house, and it seemed as though Malison was the owner of the house. We are not clear what he did for a living, but he might have been the original owner of the apartment or the building. Now, neighbors and people who knew them did not really notice anything odd before the tragic incident happened. From what was said, around 2 a.m. on the 27th of September 2024, one of their neighbors, a man named Emmanuel, was outside chatting with Malison. These are just two young men talking and gisting outside in the middle of the night. Then while they were talking, Promise came to join them. Now, this could actually play a role in what followed. It's not clear where Promise was coming from. The story said Promise just came to join them in the chatting, in the gisting. Some sources claimed she came from the inside of the house. Some sources said she was coming from another place. She was coming from where she went to all day. But Emmanuel did not notice or see Malison get angry. You would assume that, okay, if your girlfriend who is pregnant comes home late around 2 a.m., Malison would have been like, where are you coming from? Where did you go to? Those kind of things. But that did not happen. Unless Malison was one of those people who knows how to hide his frustration. So Promise joins her boyfriend with their neighbor Emmanuel, and they're all outside chatting. The little girl, her daughter, was also there. So it just seemed in my mind, this is just the neighbors talking and having conversation under the moonlight. However, though, somewhere while they were all chatting, Promise asked her daughter to go into the house to get water, but the daughter refused. She said it was too dark and she was scared to go into the house alone. It was also said that the daughter may have asked Malison to follow her, but it's not clear who asked Malison to follow the daughter in to get the water. But the request was made that Malison should escort the girl in to get the water, but Malison refused, and Promise went to get the water by herself. So I'm not sure what's happening here, the whole get water, don't go in dark. I don't know how this plays a role, but this is what Emmanuel remembers. That's because it's the neighbor that is telling the story. He's the one who saw them last before dawn. And this is what he remembers. He just remembers Promise coming out of nowhere to join their conversation. Everything seemed good. Then she needed water. The little girl could not go because it was dark, and so she went by herself. Eventually, they all dispersed to their various houses. Now, another young man named Alexandra, who had a girlfriend named Ruth, eventually came later on in the middle of the night after Malison, Emmanuel, Promise, and little girl had gone inside. Remember, they stayed in the 3-bedroom, so it is possible that Alexandra also stayed in the same house as Malison and probably had a room to himself. So when he came late, he knocked at the door to ask Malison to open the door, which he did. He opened the door for Alexandra and his girlfriend to come in, and they both went to their room, while Malison went to his room with his girlfriend Promise and their little child. However, the next morning, when it was dawn, when it was daybreak, Ruth, the girlfriend of the roommate of Malison, begins to sweep the house. She's doing wifely girlfriend duties, trying to keep her man, when all of a sudden she sees blood coming from the bedroom of Malison, and she sees footsteps on the blood, and she just knew something terrible had happened. Ruth went back to wake Alexandra to tell him, see, blood is coming out from Malison and Promise's room. I think something bad has happened. They wake up, they try to go to the door, but the door would not open. They tried knocking, no one responded. They immediately called the police. When the police came, the door was broken into, and that was where Promise's body was found, butchered with a cutlass, along with her daughter. Malison was not seen, and they just presumed that since he was the one absent, it was his footstep that was on the blood and he had run away. The strangest thing is that nobody heard any fight or commotion. Nobody knew what had happened. It's not as if they were the only people in the house. Alexandra and his girlfriend were also there, and they did not hear anything. The police were able to determine that Malisin had used a cutlass to butcher the two of them to death before running away through the back door. Promise's body as well as her daughter's body were taken to the morgue for more examination, and a manhunt for Malisin began. 3 days later, he was found hiding in the bush. He was caught and arrested and taken to the police. He admitted to killing them, but when asked why he did it, he refused to say. So nobody really knows why he did what he did. However, the family of Promise, the victim, came out to say that their daughter had told them that she had seen charms and juju in his house. So they believe she eventually confronted him about it, and that was what led to him doing what he did. Although the police went to his house to search for the weapons, which they found 2 cutlass and some other things, but it wasn't stated if they found the charms and the juju that Promise may had seen that led to her death. I personally believe the parents, since Malisin don't want to tell us the reason why he did this to this girl and the daughter. Like, why? And my thing is, if she had seen juju, charms, or something fetish in her boyfriend's house, I would see why she would want to confront him. I would see why she would want to ask him. It's hard to know how to approach such situation because, first of all, she's pregnant for this guy. She's going to have a child for this guy. She's living with this guy. She has a little daughter also living with this guy. She probably sees herself marrying this guy. So running away may seem like the best option, but she seemed tied to him already when there is a child involved. So I understand the need to want to confront him and ask him. But it's clear that whatever the charm and the juju was for, it was something he was hiding. It was something he did not like the fact that she had to find out. Maybe he got hungry that she went to snoop around and found it, because for her to find the charms and the juju, she must have really done some snooping around. If they've been living together for 11 months, it means he has been hiding it so well. For her to eventually find it, it means it was something that she should not have seen. I personally think he was into some sort of money ritual or some sort of fetish things. And some people would argue that maybe she was the actual ritual plans. Maybe he intended to kill her after all as part of his juju and fetish things. And he did it. Personally, I would say if you're a young girl, before you get pregnant for a guy, make sure you know what they really do. You know, Promise is 21 and she had already gotten pregnant at a younger age. I would assume she's just one of those girls that is as naive as it comes, because it's easy for them to fall in love. And given that Malisin is well-to-do, the 3-bedroom apartment, obviously everything looks, hunky-dory, so she did not think that there was anything to worry about. Finding out that he is into something fetish, it's kind of too late to run away with your daughter, because now you're pregnant and you need his money and you need his shelter. So you're stuck there. And now that you've seen what you're not supposed to see, he has to do what he's not supposed to do. But if she wasn't tied with him, if she did not already get knocked up to have a child with him, it would have been easy for her to just carry her little girl, go to her parents' house, call him on the phone and ask him about it. Because confronting your boyfriend in the middle of the night over a juju charm that you saw is just a recipe for disaster. Or according to the parents, she had seen it since, and had confronted him since, but he decided to strike that time. So it's hard to know the timeline of things. It's just unfortunate. Malisin faces 50 years to life in prison. He's being charged to court. He's still not speaking as to his motive, which makes me believe that the parents were right. Although there are people claiming, there's a flip side of the internet, when you read comments, people are saying that probably it's because she came late from wherever she went. Because remember, they were outside chatting, like Malisin with Emmanuel, the neighbor, were all chatting when Promise came to join them. And we don't know where Promise was coming from. So some people are thinking maybe she went out late and hung out, probably went to cheat and came back, to send him to go and get water and something like that. So I'm assuming that narrative is what people are thinking was what got him angry to do what he did. Some men don't know how to react in public. Some men would act like they are cool with their women behaving a type of way, but once they go home and lock the door, all hell break loose. I'm assuming that could have also been the case. I'm assuming if there was no such thing as the fetish thing that she saw, I'm assuming that that could have also angered him to that point. Some people are crazy. Like, some people are monsters. You all would not believe that. I mean, it's easy to believe that, oh, it's the charms, it's the juju that she saw. But let me say this. Somebody can get angry over little things. I can bet you that I will not be surprised if this guy tells the whole world that the reason why he killed Promise and her daughter is because they both asked him to go and get water for him in the house. I can bet you that that could be a good motive. I mean, I would like to know your thoughts, because some people are that fragile. Some people's ego are so fragile that a little thing could trigger them to do the worst things unimaginable. But at the same time, it's hard to know. To be easy for us if he just speaks and tells us why. Maybe to come out in court when his defense lawyer is trying to defend him, we'll get to find out why exactly he did what he did. But I can bet that if it's not the charms, it's probably because she came late, like some people agree. Or it's probably because the little girl and the mother were asking him to go and get water for him. I will not be surprised. But you guys let me know your thoughts.